Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you some Visual Studio settings that I like to change that I feel help me be more productive. It helps me get more done in less time. It helps me get things done easier, and I'm really hoping that you can benefit from them too. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so to get things started, rather than create a project like we did in the first video, we're going to get things set up correctly to begin with. So to do that, we're just going to simply say open a local folder, and we are going to go to our PC on our C drive. We are going to create a new folder called repos, where we're going to store all of our code. And then we're going to pick that folder. So now that we have our new folder created, we need to tell Visual Studio that that's where we want to keep our stuff. So if we go to Tools, Options, and your projects and solutions may not already be expanded. Sometimes the environment is the default one that's open. So you're going to come down here, you're going to click on Locations, and the only one that we really care about at this point is the project location. So we're just going to click on that ... We're going to navigate to our C drive again. We're going to scroll down and pick repos. And now whenever we create a new solution, or where Visual Studio is going to look by default, is now in the folder that we have set up where we're going to store all of our code. So we just simply click OK, and we're good to go. The next setting we want to change is to track our active file in our project. So that way when we're switching between tabs in Visual Studio, we can automatically see where that file is in our solution. It might sound like a small thing, but once you start getting a lot of files, it makes it a lot easier to see where your file is in the hierarchy of your solution. So we're going to go Tools, Options again, and we're going to go to Projects and Solutions, and we're going to go to the General tab, and we're going to click on this Track Active Item in Solution Explorer, and then simply click OK. The next setting just simply helps us see which windows and tabs that we actually have open in Visual Studio. You know, if you're working on quite a few files, you can have them across the top of Visual Studio, but they'll actually go off the screen. And there is a little icon you can click on to expand it and see all of the files, but it's just a lot easier if you can see all of your tabs at once. So what we want to do is we want to go into Tools, Options again. We're going to open up the Environment section. We're going to go to Tabs in Windows, and we're going to say Show Tabs in Multiple Rows, and we're going to say Insert Tabs to the right of existing tabs. So that way we always know that our new tabs are at the end on the right. And then we simply click OK, and that's going to allow us to see all of the tabs open, and we know that the newest ones we opened are always the furthest to the right. So there are two more settings that we want to make sure that we change. The first one is we just want to make sure that line numbers is checked off and is actually on. If we're getting help from somebody, it's way easier to just point them to a specific line number rather than saying it's the third block down below this specific if statement. It's just waste time. It's confusing. It's just way easier when you have line numbers. The second one is Visual Studio provides something called a map mode for the scroll bar. It doesn't take up much more real estate, and it provides you all kinds of information, like you can see where you've changed code, you can see red marks where there are specific errors, and it just works really well. So to do that, we're just going to go to Tools, Options. We're going to scroll down to the text editor section. Since we're doing C#, we're going to click on C#. So you can see here that line numbers is already checked, so we're good there. And then if we expand C# and we go down to scroll bars, you can see that use map mode is on, but I am going to pick the wide version because I prefer that the best. And once we get into some code and can see some errors and where we've changed lines of code, you'll see how this is going to really pay off. So now that our settings are all set up, we can actually create our first project that we want to use going forward. So we'll say File, New Project. We're going to pick an NUnit test project for .NET. We'll say Next. We're going to give our solution a name of Selenium with Steve, and we're going to call our solution Selenium tests. And you can see it's using our brand new C:\repos folder that we set in our settings. So that's where it's going to start putting all of our projects and looking for code. So we'll say next, we want to use .NET 6. We'll say create our project. And now that we have our project, we're going to simply go in and say manage NuGet packages. And we are going to add the same projects that we did before. So that way we can actually run our tests with Selenium. So we want to pick the WebDriver. So we'll pull that down, say OK. And then we'll pull down our Chrome driver and say OK. And now if we expand our dependencies over here for packages, as you can see, we have our NuGet packages for NUnit and our NuGet packages for the WebDriver. So our project is ready to go. We already know that almost every file we create is going to involve Selenium in some way. So for example, rather than adding using directives to the top of this test, or adding using directives to the top of a class where we might have methods, what we can do instead is we can add global using directives to our usings file. So if we go to our usings file, we can come here, we can add a new line, we can add a using for openqa.selenium, and we can add another one for openqa, Selenium, and Chrome. And now every single file that we create will have these namespaces available to us. Now that we have our global using directives available to us, you can see that if I go into this unit test and I start adding statements like we did in the first video to simply open a browser, navigate to a URL, and then close it, that as I type iWebDriver, it actually knows what I'm looking for because it already has those namespaces available to it. So this is going to make it so much easier for you to create your test cases because you won't be guessing what you're supposed to type. The IntelliSense is going to bring it up and make it easier for you to figure it out. So we're going to do a new Chrome driver. We're going to say driver.url. And we're going to go to google.com. And then we're simply going to close our driver like that. See, it's so much faster. We have our using directives all available to us. And now we have our first test like we did in the first video. Now that we have just a small amount of code in our test, let me show you how the map mode actually works. So you can see over here, this is the map. This is how wide it is when you pick the wide selection. If I mouse over the scroll bar, I can easily see what code is there, which is so cool. Now, if I make these a little bit more spread apart, just so that there's more stuff in the scroll bar, and let's do our thread.sleep, just to give it more code to look at, you can see that there's the individual lines there. Now, obviously, if you had a much bigger class file with a lot more code, this would be even more useful. But watch what happens. I'm going to say, instead of thread, I'm going to say HH thread. And all of a sudden, it's going to say that's a compile error. And if I move my mouse, you got this nice little red block that shows you that's where the error is. So, and if I were to say, have a lot more code, so this is off the screen, I can hold down on this and drag it where I want, or I can leave it down there and still go up here like this to see where the error is. And if I double click on the red block, it'll take me right to the problem, so that way I can go fix it. And that's just super handy. The last thing I wanted to talk about are Windows layouts. So Windows layouts are really cool because if you're working on just a laptop, you can configure Visual Studio in such a way that you have the most real estate possible for doing your coding. But then if you hook your laptop up to a docking station and you have multiple monitors, you can reconfigure Visual Studio so that way you can see so much more and have it work better for you. So first, I just want to show you how I have my windows laid out. Maybe different than what you like. I just thought I'd share so that way you can see how someone else might do it. So the first thing is over on the right, I always have my Solution Explorer, and I have basically no windows tabbed. And then I have Git, so that way you can do your check-ins and your commits and stuff with Git and GitHub. I have my multi-line search and replace if I want to replace huge code blocks. And then I have my regular find and replace if I'm just looking for something or I want to replace something, even just using a simple regular expression. So that stuff stays over here on the right. Then over here on the left, I have my test explorer. So when I get ready and I have a big suite of tests, I know I can just come here and run them, look at the results. And then down bottom, I usually have my error list and my output window, and I usually untab those as well. So that way I can have as much real estate as possible to simply do my coding. So once you have your windows all set the way that you want, you can actually save them to specific layouts. So for example, if this was my setup for my laptop, because I have my coding area maximized because my laptop screen's not very big, then what I could do is I could go to Window, Save Window Layout, and I could say that this is my laptop layout name. And then let's just say that now I'm going to hook my laptop up to a docking station where I'm going to have multiple monitors, so much more room to actually see what I'm doing. I may want to, for example, pin the Solution Explorer. I may want to pin my Test Explorer, and I may want to pin my error list. So every time I do builds, I can immediately see what my problems are. So if I wanted to have this be my desktop view, then I could simply say Window, Save Layout, and I could save this as my desktop layout. And then later on, I unhook from the docking station. I need to do some more coding. I just simply come here, say Window, Apply Layout, Laptop. I say yes, and then my view goes right back to the way that I need it for just my laptop. Okay guys, that's it for this video. I hope that changing those few settings that I shared with you can really bring some benefit to you and the projects that you're working on. I hope you found the information in this video helpful. And I would really love your support in helping me get my channel up and going. So if you would consider liking and subscribing to my channel, I would really appreciate it, and possibly sharing the video with a friend so they can benefit as well. So until the next video, you guys have a great day.